talk about your introduction to Indian cinema, and
Mhm.
let's talk about your movie about it, which is about to come. Just throw some light on that. Actors you chose, there are Indian people in it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the story just sort of flows together. It's five storylines. They come together. One person flows into the next person's story. So the best way to explain it is you imagine that two people in a story are having some sort of dispute. They go into a coffee shop, and at the coffee shop there's somebody who starts a fight with the barista. The cops come. The camera moves away from the people you're with, follows the fight, goes out to the cops, enters the cop car, and after the cop drops the
Mm.
person off at the police station, maybe the camera stays with the cop and the cop goes to his family. So it's kind of weird how like you've gone from the couple in the coffee shop to the fight to the cop car to the cop's home, but you always were with the character that you stayed with. And even if your character has changed, your story has not. It's interconnecting the stories. And so the final storyline of the intersection is this Indian family with Shreya Patel and Sonali Jain, Maninder Channa, and Awais Sheikh. And there's an interplay in the family. It's interesting because the intersection is it starts in a very apartment house contained story, and it ends that way too. And in the middle, you're all over the place. You're on the streets, you're in bars, you're everywhere. So it starts and ends in two houses, watching two family dynamics. And really, the film is about family, right? In the first story, you have a girl whose mother has just died of an asthma attack, and her
Mhm.
stepfather is not giving her full insight into what happened, and she can't understand how it happened. So she starts digging what happened to my mother. In the next story, you're dealing with a young, maybe a 20-year-old guy who's been called by his friend to do him a favor, and he doesn't know what the favor is. And it turns out that his favor is to do something very dangerous with him. And the third one is a fight breaks out at a bar, and you have a guy who's drunk and he's defending his girlfriend. He thinks he's defending his girlfriend, but he's really just being very possessive, and he's trying to be,
Oh,
and he's, you've probably seen this at bars, you talk to my girlfriend and I'll beat you up, those types of guys. And turns out that because he initiated this fight, he gets kicked out of the bar. She follows him. She tells him, I'm tired of you doing all this, whatever, getting drunk, bullshit, whatever, go home. But when she goes back to the bar to pick up her stuff, the guys that he was fighting with follow her.
okay.
And maybe something really bad happens, maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And in the fourth one is the Indian storyline where a girl comes in, and Shreya's character, Radha, she comes in and she helps this girl before something bad happens to her. And we follow her because she's with her boyfriend Troy, who's played by
Hmm. Yeah.
Pennywise, right? So Troy, and so the the brother is very adamant that she should not be dating a black guy. She should not be seen with a black guy. And there's pictures of surface on the web, and so now we follow them home, and now we are in this Indian household, and it's very real. It feels so real. Everything about the film feels real. It feels like you're watching real people.
So was it so necessary to take the Indian people in this movie? What made you do that? I mean, how did you get the contacts and, you know?
Well, I mean, look, my first film
Yeah.
ever was in Russian. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
My I have a goal, personal goal in life, to direct 10 languages before I'm done. That means I have to learn 10 languages, but fine, I'll learn along the way. So I want to do a French film. I speak enough French to do a French film. I want to do an Italian film, speak enough Italian to do an Italian film. I definitely want to do a Serbian film and Croatian Serbian film. So there's all these different films that I want to do, different genres. I want to do a documentary. There's so many different avenues. I'm not glued to okay, just drama, English drama, English drama. I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. So I want to be able to connect And I think that language is very interesting because, first of all, I want it to be original, right? I haven't seen, I'm not saying it's never been done, but I haven't seen a ton of English language films that suddenly morph into a Hindi melodrama towards the end. That's weird to me. But I also think that it feels very authentic. And to me, every decision behind the intersection, cinematography wise, story wise, everything was devoted to this feeling of pure immersion. See, I mentioned to you earlier that my favorite film was 4 Months, 3 Weeks, and 2 Days. Now, I don't want to even compare my film to that film because it's not even freaking close. In a million years, it wouldn't be close. But one thing that I really appreciate about 4 Months, 3 Weeks, 2 Days is you always felt like you were there. There's something, there's feeling in that film of you're fly on the wall and you're watching these people have a really, really bad day. And I really appreciated that about that film. And to me, Intersection, it was the same idea. I wanted to
Mhm.
make people feel like they were just observers. There's no point of view shots. It's very common in films to have point of view shot, right? Like, oh, the person looked at this,
Mhm.
now
Yeah.
put the camera
Yeah.
on the head. There's no point
Yeah.
of view shots in Intersection. Everything is from a distance. You're always watching people from a distance. And in the apartment with the Indian family, it's really interesting because I did not block the scene. We didn't light it. We didn't light or block this. Okay. So
Okay.
only existing lights. And I said, I'm going to be a documentarian in this family. You have your fight. Have your fight. I'll do my best to just capture it. So that means if they go left, I'm moving the camera left. They go right,
Left.
I'm moving the camera
You're
right.
moving
They
to the
start
right.
walking forward, I'll walk forward. That type of cinema is honestly like that's very inspiring for me. I love that type of stuff, that organic, because if you tell someone you have to take 5 steps and then you have to make a turn and hit that light and then that light and that mark and then you have to pick up the glass as so, it's going to change the performance a lot. And
Absolutely.
here's the kicker. After we were done the fourth intersection, the Indian one, I was under the impression that it was our worst one. Okay. I thought it was going to be so bad. I thought it was our worst one by far. I kept thinking to
Uh-huh.
myself, "Oh no, everything else is so good, but this one really was bad, right?" And then we got to edits, and it's the best. It's like the best one. And I didn't think that was possible, but it really is. I even gave so one of the actresses, Sonali, she's the mother of Shreya in the movie. So she's a writer as well. So I told
Okay.
Sonali, imagine you have a daughter and you're trying to really guilt her. And I say whatever you want that comes to your mind off script.
Mhm.
So she just went off for 6 minutes and started like giving Shreya this entire backstory about her character, how they
Huh.
came to Canada, whatever. Again, none of it was scripted. In the script, it just said guilt trip, just guilt trip. That's it. Do whatever you want,
Mm.
and it's all in Hindi, right? So that was really cool. So to me, it's like everything is in service of authenticity. Could I have made them speak English? Absolutely. But how many purely Indian families do you know, especially not born here? All of them have an accent, right? Most of them have an accent, or at least three of them have an accent. How many families do you know that would have this kind of discussion in English if they speak Hindi at home? None. So to me, it's like you have to give people this feeling that they're seeing something they're not supposed to see. That I think is very important. And one of the big things I took from 4 Months, 3 Weeks, 2 Days is some of those scenes that you see in that
Mhm.
film, whether
Mhm.
it's a dinner at the person's house, whether it's an abortion that you're watching in a shady motel room, you always have this feeling as an audience, I'm watching something that I don't think I'm supposed to be able to see. There's something about this that feels so authentically real and it's very immersive. It just pulls you into the scene. You're like, you know what I mean? It's like almost like
Yeah.
reality TV, like except it's not
Reality
fake.
show. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something very real to it. And so that was the feeling that I got with the fourth intersection. And what makes me really excited about it is that having this family, act the way they did and saying the things they were saying, it was well scripted, but the movement was so authentic
So
and
real. So
there
real.
was a moment where Shreya started crying authentically, truly authentically.
Yes.
It was not in the script for her to cry. she just broke down. She's like, this is so emotionally exhausting, right? To have to process all of this is so hard. And that's the thing for all actors, it is hard to do this. Every actor who worked on Intersection would tell you it was really hard. It was really hard. We were on all the time. We shot the film so fast. But by being on all the time, you're forcing people to not second guess themselves. They don't have time to second guess themselves. If you do these 14-hour days for 45 days, everything's so relaxed, everything moving so slowly, whatever. I don't know if I would do the same thing over again, but to me, it feels like that urgency created a lot of authenticity for the performances.
Yeah, and actually, well, if I read and go back to your website or your articles, the 99 and the 10% rule, where you say that, the 1% is the potential opportunities where you find. So, what are those, the potential authentic feedback givers? Where do you find them? Are they really real? And how do you take criticism?
Um, sure. So I've learned to take criticism well. I didn't take criticism well when I started. I was very poor at taking criticism
Yes.
when I started out. In terms of who can give you feedback, it really depends on where you are, right? So if you're a first year filmmaker, maybe you don't have a very strong talent developed yet, you don't have a strong taste. There are a lot of people, honestly, that could probably teach you a few things about what you're doing wrong, right? There are film school instructors, there's other filmmakers, there are people who are on their fifth, sixth film that could probably tell you some mistakes you're making. Once you stop making those mistakes, formatting mistakes, dialogue mistakes, structure mistakes, arc mistakes, character mistakes,
Mhm.
tension mistakes, there's so many mistakes that people make in a script. Once you get past that level of making beginner mistakes and making intermediate mistakes, and you're looking for real authentic feedback on the scope of your film or your script, there are very few people who can really are trained to give you that feedback. They are generally extremely accomplished or extremely experienced or extremely smart. And then the caveat here is even if someone is all those things, it doesn't mean they're going to want to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're going to do it honestly, right? Some people are just going to tell you your thing sucks because they're having a bad day. Some people are going to tell you it's good because they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? So somebody who's honestly capable, willing, trained, and available to give you feedback is very rare. And you have to define for yourself what is the quality of feedback that I'm getting, because I think a lot of people get bad feedback early on,
Right.
and then their judgment gets very clouded, right? Because it's like, if somebody tells you you have a great script and then your mom tells you you have a great film, and now you're submitting to film festivals and submitting to Netflix, and you're wondering why is it not working out. Well, easy peasy, because Netflix is not your mom and your mom is not Netflix, right? So
Right.
you have to bounce these ideas off of people that aren't connected to you, who are willing to give you feedback, who, you know, and yeah, so I think there's a 99-1 rule when it comes to film for sure.
Wow, and I like that, and because I was so inquisitive to know about it. So tell us something about the festival which you're currently working on and the highlights of it. And is it very hard to work online on this OTT platforms what we are now on? And I'm sure you're not enjoying it because I knew that you wanted to do it the physical way. But what are the challenges that you're facing right now?
um I think the real challenge is getting started, right? Once you get started, once you get the ball rolling, there's a lot of things that just sort of fall into place, right? You get your eventive, link live, you select your films,
How many submissions have been there altogether this year?
450, 500-ish submissions. I mean,
Mhm.
like, honestly, we have very expensive submissions, right?
Really?
Comparatively speaking, our submissions are more expensive than TIFF. So, you know,
What way? I mean,
like
you mean
for
to
on
say
Film Freeway, when you submit to Pendance,
film freeway? Yeah.
typically over the so just the past year, I think our final deadline submissions are $75 US for shorts and $110 for features. So honestly, that's in line with same price as Sundance. So it's very expensive. We do
Hmm.
this for quite a few reasons. Number one, we're a small team. We don't, if we had $10 submissions, $5 submissions, $20 submissions, we would end
Whole
up with like
bunch of people
thousands.
have come. Yes.
Yeah, we would end up with thousands of submissions. And to be honest, like I would love to get
Whole.
thousands of submissions.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to be able to charge filmmakers less, but we don't
Mhm.
have the resources to watch that many films
Watch
because,
that. Right.
because I mean, people think, well, I watch films all the time. It's super easy, right? But you're not watching films the way we're watching films. When we watch a film, we
Mm.
take detailed notes on the film. We might have to watch it three, four different times. Three, four different people have to take three, four different notes. Then we have to compare, deliberate, etc., etc. So honestly, our time has to be worth something here. If something is going to take us 3.5 hours or 4 hours to do, we obviously can't charge $5 for it, right?
No ways.
So
No ways.
so it's a sort of catch 22 there, right? Like, I mean, a lot of film festivals out there, they do charge $5, $10 for submissions. And I'm not saying they don't watch the films. I'm not. Maybe they do, maybe they watch them. Maybe they're in a country where the
I heard
currency.
you say, I'm sorry, I'm interfering. I
Yeah,
heard you saying that there's so many, online submissions, these film festivals, and trust me, half of them should not exist. What do you have to say on that?
my direct quote in our last interview was there's 9,000 of them and 8,000 should not exist. See, I told you I have a good memory, right? Yeah,
Right,
I guess
right.
what I mean by that is, film festivals should serve some sort of purpose for artists, right? They have to. They cannot just be there so that you as a festival can line your own pockets, right? With submission fees, with ticket sales, etc. You have to be a curator. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? Right? So
Hmm.
if you're not providing a market for films to be sold, which is fine because 99% of film festivals cannot do that reasonably well, you know,
Right.
um, if you're not providing a large audience, which is acceptable if you have not great films, why would audience come? Audiences barely go to check out Hollywood films in theaters now. Why are they going to come to a film festival, right? If you can't offer an audience, you can't offer a market, you can't offer press, obviously major newspapers are not going to cover this. You can't offer
Who are
publicity.
your media partners for the moment? I mean, this
We work
festival?
with Now Toronto here. We've been working on a relationship with the Toronto Star, hopefully. But mainly, like honestly, that has been our weakest part of our festival is market and publicity. So we've because we're a young film
Why?
festival here, it's been hard. But we're really good. Like I think our films are really on the
Yeah.
they're on par. Like I've
Right.
attended a lot of really good film festivals in my life, and I've never attended a film festival where I was like, wow, this is like another level than Pendance. It's never happened. I'd be very honest with you. Like we select the best films in the world every year. Like our one story was last year we were at TIFF Bell Lightbox, right? And we were screening a bunch of films because before the screening you have to test all the screeners.
Yes, right.
So we're doing like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, spot checks for the films, right?
Hmm.
And there's a few people from TIFF in there with us, TIFF staff
Okay.
who are doing the checks with us. They're people who work at TIFF, etc. And
Hmm.
after it, she was like, "Really, we didn't select any of these films?" I was like, "No, these are all Pendant selections," right? So to me, it was like, that's really what we're about. Like we're about selecting the best films on the planet, high end stories, right? Great stories. Yeah, we're going to definitely select a few films every year that TIFF would never touch. Maybe because they're too controversial, maybe they're too indie, maybe
Yeah.
they're too low budget, whatever. Always going to be a few of those. But on the higher end of our festival, there's always films that we select that are like ace best films. So it's strange that we haven't gotten publicity, but honestly, we haven't had a publicist, like a proper publicist. Like there's a lot of I have blind spots, right? As a festival director, there are things that I really really know, and then there are things that I don't know. There are relationships that I can leverage and relationships that I haven't formed yet, right? So obviously, if for instance I was thinking like my best friend was a publicist, maybe we would have tons of publicity.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, it'll happen gradually. That's what I feel. If you keep doing the good work, it does
yeah,
show up. It
yeah.
doesn't go
Did I answer
anywhere.
your question though? Like I think, sorry, I veered off topic. I have a tendency to do that. I apologize. What I meant to say
No, that's
was,
fine.
if you're not offering one of these things to filmmakers, then I don't necessarily think, and okay, or community. Community is important too. So there are these little film festivals in the States, in Canada, I'm sure everywhere in the world, where you just go and you meet nice people and you meet other filmmakers and you form connections and nothing else happens. 10 people see your film, that's it, you go home. That's fine too. Those festivals can exist and should exist. They're nice regional film festivals. Maybe it's the only important cultural thing that happens in that town that year. Great, that's cool. They're very enthusiastic. Those festivals. There's a few in Canada that I really like as well, and I would definitely submit to them. They're cool. But beyond that, there are so many of these laurel generator festivals that they do nothing for filmmakers. They do nothing for artists. They do nothing for the films. They just send you a laurel and say, you've been selected. We're going to screen your film at this place. God help you if you go. You're going to find one person in the audience, no press, nothing. They didn't care. They just put it in a really small screen in a random place. And they're saying, okay, we screened it. They're lazy. They're lazy. And to me, they feel like scams. So,
Do you think comparisons, when somebody compares someone with you or says, hey, I'm doing the same kind of thing or same kind of job, how do you take that comment as?
I think it's irrelevant and probably mostly disingenuous, right? Like comparisons are made to level playing fields, right? So an example would be that you have a truck driver, right, who meets Mark Zuckerberg, for example, and he says, "Oh, I like that we're both running companies," right? The truck driver is self-employed. Mark Zuckerberg runs, Facebook, but hey, I'm just like them. But that's disingenuous. You're not running the same type of company, so putting yourself on that level in your own mind is crazy, right? Now, if Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk have this conversation that, hey, what's it like to run a big company? Now you have at least some basis for comparison, but yet, even still, I don't think they would do that because, generally speaking, now this is just my experience, the people that you will have the biggest headaches with in your life in this industry, like here's the bottom, here's the top. You will have no problem with these people at all. True beginners and true elites, no problem. Everybody in the middle is a fucking nightmare. Everybody, well, almost everybody in the middle is just a
Yes,
freaking.
you're right.
They're just,
I
because
totally agree with you.
because at the bottom they're trying to prove that they're not the bottom. So
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
in their own head, they're like, okay, well, I'm not a beginner. So these people right here, they're telling you, oh, I have 20 years of experience. I'm so great, blah, 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 blah. The people up here who are in the middle at the top, they're telling you that the politics of the festivals and the politics of people and people don't want to, they're telling you a different story. Point is, they're both very unhappy, both very frustrated. But the people right at the beginning
Right.
of their career. So my goal is, to stay at the beginner or the top. I don't want to deal with the middle. I don't want to be part of the middle. I don't care for the middle. So either, as I told you, I don't think I'm a good director right at the beginning. When I'm talking to somebody that I respect as a director, I'm right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. So I am all ears. I have no notion. We select great filmmakers every year at Pendants. I have never in my life thought to compare myself to them because I'm not on their. I'm forget levels. They know things. They've forgotten more about cinema than I will probably know. So how can I even go to that level? I just want to learn. I'm there to learn. I'm not there to tell you how good I am at whatever. Conversely, Sometimes I'm at the top of that conversation. Sometimes I'm dealing with a totally new filmmaker who's never done films before, or
Hmm.
maybe someone who doesn't know anything about film festivals. Now I have to become the top, and I have to be the experienced person, and I have to like give that information back. But one thing I'm not is I'm not the frustrated middle. I'm not just constantly like, I had a conversation with like Charles Williams about, he'd done Khan, and he's, one of the most celebrated short filmmakers in the world. It's not like I'm telling him like, hey, I make short films and you make short films. So we are like, both short filmmakers. It's like, yeah, you're both short filmmakers, but the films he's making are kind of on another planet than yours, and you should aim to learn. It's kind of like if you're so fixated on trying to put yourself on the same level, you won't learn from that person. And every person you meet is an opportunity to learn so much. So
Yes, and there's no age for learning. That's what I feel. And the
totally.
best part I like about you is that you always are, you always say this, I'm open to learn. I'm learning, I'm still at the age of learning. But don't you think so sometimes people take it for granted? I mean, the way you say it's always learning, learning is
What do you mean take it
something
for
like,
granted?
I mean, okay, let's say, suppose you say, okay, I learn from them. So sometimes people can say, oh my God, this guy always keeps saying learning, learning. Is he not into seriously making filmmaking, or is he just in an act of learning? They might take it in a wrong way. There are people who might take it into another way.
How people take things is their business, right?
No,
I
has
don't
something like that ever happened with you? Were you being told this way, or were you being made to feel this way, that you're only a
Nobody
learner,
can make me
not
feel
being?
anything. So philosophically, we're in different worlds there. Like I don't feel like you can't make me feel uncomfortable. There's nothing you can do to make me feel uncomfortable. I can choose to focus on something you've said and make myself feel uncomfortable, right? So no one can make me feel like there's something wrong with me learning. I can choose to focus on what they're saying about it, and I can choose to feel uncomfortable, but
Mhm.
they can't do that to me. So I am very much in the beliefs that you have to identify your strengths and
You,
weaknesses. And
you're a
one of
tough shell.
my,
You have become a tough shell now.
I don't know if toughness is it, right? It's not toughness necessarily. Maybe, maybe we define toughness differently. Is it resilience? Is it grit? Toughness? Some people think toughness is like wherewithal, like whatever comes at this person, they're going to stand with no tears. That's not true. I can cry, no problem.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
no, this is owning yourself. This is kind of coming into your own skin and saying, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make
Nobody's
tons of
perfect.
mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Fine, platitude. But I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm gonna make tons of mistakes. I'm gonna regret things. That's okay. I'm cool with that. But what I'm not, and I think at some point in your life, whether it's in your 20s, late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, some people maybe it never happens, you just get really okay with who you are, right? You get really comfortable with who you are, and you get comfortable with your flaws and your strengths, and you identify yourself. You see yourself very clearly. There are things
You
that I know.
accept yourself, actually. You try to
Absolutely.
accept yourself.
You accept yourself, but not in a defeatist way, not in the, oh, I accept that I'll never make my dreams a reality. I accept that I'll
No,
never
but
have.
in a positive way that, yeah, I'm going to overcome them and I'm going to, go ahead with that.
How many people would you say see themselves clearly? Like truly see themselves as they are instead of just some very broken image of themselves.
Okay, so I would like to again repeat your 99 by 10% rule. So there's only 1% of the people where I think really, identify themselves or are able to identify themselves.
Maybe that's true, yeah. And generally speaking, would you
And
say that
even if they identify, they are in a denial mode. They don't accept it. Even if they
hmm,
know it, they don't accept it. They deny.
hmm,
So that mode has to be changed. The denial mode.
hmm.
Acceptance is there, but denial mode is on. So it will just switch off.
Yeah. No, I think what it is that there's a lot of passed on behaviors, passed on
Absolutely.
ideas that come to us without us knowing them. You know, sometimes like I used to be a sports writer, right? And over here, there's a lot of sports propaganda. So people will, like announcers will peddle certain narratives, and
Hmm.
fans will hear them just in passing while they're watching. Over there you have cricket, basketball, whatever. Here we have basketball. So they'll just be hearing it, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, they'll say something that's identical to the propaganda that was on television about a certain player, about a certain thing, about a situation.
Certain thing.
And they will think that it's their idea. They will think this is exactly how I feel. So one example is Toronto Raptors here. They're not able to play in Canada, right? So they're having to play in Tampa Bay in the US, in Florida. And they were struggling early on. So, in order to excuse the team's struggles, the announcers started saying, but they're not playing at home. They're not playing in Toronto. It must be so hard for them. They're just adjusting. They're the only team. They're doing this whole thing. So I thought to myself, let me look at the last few times that teams have had to play because of a natural disaster or something in another state or another city, and how have they done? And historically, they've done very well. So the fact
Yeah.
that this team was doing poorly, to me, this idea was stupid. That, oh, they're just playing badly because. And in fact, the funny thing is, we're in Canada here. Most of these players are from America. Now they're playing in America, so technically they are home, just because they're not
Yeah.
playing. But the narrative was spun. So
Narratives. You stole my word.
narrative,
I was
you invented it.
narrative.
Okay,
Yeah, narrative. They
so
set the narrative so precisely according to their convenience that you have to believe it sometime. But
but
mostly
you
people
do.
who have this over here, they don't.
But people even who have this have sometimes I've met some really smart people, right? Who have certain beliefs about themselves. I'll give you an example. Let's say when you were in grade 3, right? You were shy, right? You said you were shy, I was shy.
Shy. I was shy.
So let's say in grade 3 you get up to do a book report or in front of the class to say something, and your teacher says, "Oh, please tell us about your summer," or something in front of the whole class, and you get up and you can't say anything, like
No.
you just mum whatever. And you go sit
Yeah.
down and everyone's ha 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 ha, she's so shy, right? You hear that, you feel bad, and
Yeah.
then for the next 20 years, you interpret yourself as she's so shy. So then all these other actions, like somebody says, "Oh, you should ask for a job promotion because you've been working," in your head it's like, I can't do that. And why? Because I'm so shy. But why are you shy? Because you had a bad day in grade 3? You know what I mean? People don't question that. People are just like, I am what, and the sociological explanation for this is a self-looking glass. When you look at people a certain way, they become that way. If I always look at somebody as a sexual object, they will learn to view themselves as one. If I always
Right.
look at someone as super smart, if I
Right.
assume that someone is super smart or stupid, if teachers, teachers are infamous over here for labeling kids troubled at a very early age. They try to identify kids as, oh, that's a
Right.
troubled one,
Right.
that's a
Right.
troubled one, that's a smart one,
and
whatever.
and also and also I feel there's a peer pressure where they also label the kid as, no, the teacher has labeled it, so not a good kid to be with, so
Right. And that label, right, is meaningless. In a
absolutely.
real nutshell, you could have a bad day for whatever reason. How the hell do you know what's going on in a kid's life? Maybe they're being abused at home. Maybe they just had a parent or grandparent who passed away. Maybe
Right.
something bad is happening to them. So how they're acting
Absolutely.
in your class, honestly, you just see one part of it. But most people assume that they see it. They think they know. And that's a big problem.
Wrong.
You know,
Wrong.
so many teachers that I've met in grade 6, grade 12, whatever, and I'm very lucky in that I've had good teachers, really good teachers. And
Apart from the English teacher,
no, she was the best. She's my favorite.
she's the
She's my
best now.
No, she was the best then because the minute she yelled
She
at me,
changed your life, actually. She changed your
she
life.
did. You know, she really did because the truth is that she showed me that somebody cared. Someone cared enough to yell at me for not showing up to class because,
Yes.
and to
And
me that
giving you a
like someone's
challenge,
paying attention.
to,
Someone's paying attention to me, you know? Someone's watching. That's
and
important.
giving you a challenge to yourself to, show up.
Absolutely. So that's the first problem is people don't challenge their own perceptions of something. They think,
Okay.
I know this thing. I know this person. Oh, that girl's dressed that way. She's a this. That guy's dressed this way. He's a that. You know, they're just so quick to label everything. They want to label everything. This is bad. This is good. This is trash. This is whatever. And they never stop to say, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm only seeing this because I'm the idiot? You know, there's a theory that you project what you are onto
What you
others,
are. Yeah,
right?
right.
If
Yeah,
you're
right.
good, if you're really, really good person inside, you're going to see other people as better than they are. It's just natural. You're going to focus on their best qualities, right? If you know what I mean? Like for instance, like somebody asks you for help, right? They say, "Oh, I have a script. Can you please look it over?" Right? If you're a good person, deep down, you're going to say, "This person values my opinion. They want me to look at their script. That's so nice." If you're a bad person, you're very bitter, this person asks you, "Can you look at my script?" What are you going to think? This person thinks I don't have time to do anything better with my life. They don't
Yeah,
realize I'm busy. What an asshole, right? Same person asks two different people, gets two different responses. So the problem is challenging yourself. How much of what I'm seeing in you, maybe I think you're a narcissist, maybe I think you're dumb, maybe I think you're tacky, maybe I think you're stupid, maybe I think that you're brilliant, maybe I think you're obscene. How much of that is just me? And what I'm seeing is not removed from who I am. So I must always carefully see, am I seeing things as better or worse than they are because of who I am? And so you don't really see any of that until you get really clear about who you are,
right.
you know? So if you know, yeah, I'm irritable. I'm irritable. I'm a little bit I'm not the best person. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm not. You know this about yourself. You know, I can be rushed to decisions. I'm sometimes impulsive. I can be, like I can be very brash and rude. You know this about yourself. So now you can always challenge what you see in somebody else. So now when somebody says, "Oh, you were rude," you're like, sometimes I am rude. Maybe I should listen to this, right? Like you have to get to know yourself.
Yeah,
Knowing others, you can't know. It's like I always say, like you cannot love somebody else or know anyone else until you love yourself and know yourself. So most people are very quick to judgment, and I think that that's a big mistake. You know, um, yeah,
yeah. That's really nice, and that's the way I think too, and hoping that people would also think this way. So I think I'm done with my questions with you, and it was
cool.
a wonderful talk. And
Likewise,
I didn't get you.
I said likewise. Thank you for having me.
Okay, like, okay, no, but it was pleasure. Seriously, it's nice to know you, and all the best for your future and for the festival also.
Thank you so
So,
much.
all my best wishes.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye bye. Bye bye.